Howdy, I'm Kelly Wellman, Sustainability Officer at Texas A&M University. Sustainability is a great example of how real-world problems demand a broad range of disciplines. No one specialist can solve humanity's resource issues. Our land, water, and air are all under stress. Human population has skyrocketed over the past 100 years, along with the amount of resources demanded by each person. Since we live on one finite Earth, this is clearly a problem. Many scientists and engineers are actively creating new technologies and coming up with new ideas. However, there is still a great deal of work to be done. The world needs more hardworking students to learn and research how humans can live more sustainably within the natural world. At Texas A&M University, research dealing with sustainability is occurring in many fields on many topics, both on and off campus. This video features just 4 research interests that Texas A&M faculty and students are pursuing: Howdy Farm, green roofing, sustainable fisheries, and algae biofuels. Enjoy the video and maybe it will inspire you to find ways to change the world.
Welcome to the Howdy Farm. The Howdy Farm is a sustainable agriculture teaching farm at Texas A&M University. And we exist basically for 3 reasons. 1, to provide students the opportunity to learn about growing veggies. We provide the opportunity for community outreach and for classroom experience. And lastly, we exist to perform and publish organic research for the state of Texas.
So aquaculture is basically just farming fish basically in a tank, and then the fish waste will go through a series of bacteria which converts the ammonia nitrate into a form that the plants can use, and then we use that in a system that drips down into our plants. So right now we're doing a research project where we're seeing if that fertilizer can be used solely as a fertilizer to grow tomatoes here in the greenhouse.
We have to be very conscious about our resources. And for example, in this greenhouse alone, we do what is known as aquaponics and hydroponic cultivation greenhouse crops. We use wastewater from fish, which serves as the fertilizer for our tomato plants. And so these are just one of the few ways and examples that we try and practice sustainability every day. Water conservation is one of the biggest issues of our time. Considering that out of the whole planet we have about 0.026% of that water being freshwater available for us to use as people. And so when it comes to farming, even just gardening, we practice drip irrigation technology, and so that technology only lets out water over a very small amount of area, only at the roots of the plants that we want to get water. So we're not watering our weeds, we're only giving water to those crops, and so we're minimizing our water runoff because it only drips in one spot.
We try to grow all kinds of vegetables locally and sell them in the farmers market, and we do CSA, and we produce lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, broccoli, cabbage, tomatoes, tomatillos. Now we're growing herbs, cilantro, rosemary, basil, and what else we do? We're doing cucumber, squash. I can actually see what grows in every season because we have fruits and vegetables throughout the whole year at the store, but here we realize what can be grown when.
The thing I like about the Howdy Farm the most is that it allows students to come out and just get their hands dirty, and it allows them to try anything they want and to experiment and to learn and to make mistakes and to get to try anything in the field of sustainability.
This part of the country, green roofs are still fairly new. For example, up in Chicago and Washington, D.C., vegetative roofs have been around for the last 10 years or so. So they've had a lot of time to explore what species work. Here in Texas, we've not had as much time. Really, it's just been the past 3 to 4 years that green roofs have emerged in Texas. So we need to find out what plants will work. Having students and faculty from 3 different colleges is really beneficial because each of us has a strength to bring together. So we're able to look at different aspects of green roof technology. Atmospheric sciences, they have students that do research and have expertise with the atmospheric conditions. Students in horticulture, they have good knowledge of plants and the growing conditions and how to propagate plants. And in landscape architecture and architecture, we have students that are really interested in design, so looking at plants as a design component, or even looking to understand the different types of green roof systems.
So we decided to go with a modular system, which pretty much comprises of its own individual units. And so we found certain modules that we thought fit our project.
So we have 3 different designs within the modules. We have a succulent mix. Succulents are plants that store water in their roots and in the leaves, so they're really fleshy looking. They're very drought tolerant, and they have low evapotranspiration rates, so they're able to survive drought and heat. We also have herbaceous species, which are grasses and wildflowers. So we have some modules with only herbaceous plants. And then one design is a mixture of the succulent plants and the herbaceous plants.
Recently there's been a big push for sustainability. I think it's just more environmental awareness that's just brought about by our environment degrading in some areas.
Vegetated roofs can dampen the urban flooding conditions by absorbing stormwater, slowing down the stormwater, cooling down the stormwater, and in some cases even improving the water quality.
Instead of just rain falling onto a roof, going directly into the stormwater systems, it can fall on the roof. The soil and plants can help absorb and retain some of that water, and it can also detain it. So some can fall onto the roof, gets evaporated from the soil and transpired from the plants, so it can never even enter the stormwater system. And then the stuff that does enter the stormwater system, it's reduced, so not as much actually enters the stormwater system.
Now, Professor Vorak is investigating like temperature gradients going from the top of the green roof up to the building, and so you can figure out like how energy efficient, how much savings you get for having a green roof.
So by placing these modules on the roof, we'll be able to look at the energy transfer from the top of the roof down through the concrete roof deck. For example, the rooftop here in the Langford building during a hot summer day can get up over 160 degrees, where the temperatures under the green roof are just around 110 or 150, so it helps keep the rooftop cool. I've observed butterflies, different insects here and there, and we just anticipate that we might see a little more insect activity here.
The green roofs help improve that, since usually in an urban environment, you have a lot of concrete and impervious surfaces and buildings, and there's not that many plants involved. Having some green roofs and parks helps improve biodiversity, since you get more insects and more plants and animals, birds, all sorts of different species that come in.
Another concern is with the rising CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere, and especially around urban environments. This can be increased compared to more rural areas. So the more green spaces you have in an area, it's going to help absorb more of that CO2.
One of the important things about green roof technology is that they provide multiple benefits. You have the stormwater, wildlife, habitat, energy benefits, and when you look at all those together, it really allows you to look at a rooftop as an untapped resource. When you look at an urban area, there's so much unused rooftop space, and when you think of all the benefits bundled together, you really want to know, well, why aren't we doing more of this?
There's a lot of things that we have to figure out in terms of the environment, in terms of green roofs, and so you guys should get involved and study more and learn more and go to college and get a master's degree and do research. And it's really amazing things, because a lot of the times, a professor is telling you what to do and what to know, but when you're doing research, you're really just on the border, on the frontier of knowledge. So you're expanding that knowledge for all of humanity, and it's an amazing feeling.
The oceans are a tremendous resource for us as people, and yet at the same time, we have loved them too much in some ways. We've overfished them a little bit, we've polluted them a little bit, and we've reduced their productivity. We've reduced their ocean's ability to provide the kinds of things that we as human beings rely on. So the kinds of research that some of us do are aimed to a certain degree at determining how we use those resources, those ocean resources, and how we as society might use them more sustainably. We like to think of managing the oceans using kind of a triple bottom line approach, whereby the oceans can contribute to the ecology, contribute to biodiversity, but also contribute to economies and to social and economic welfare of peoples. My research is fairly broad, so I'm going to tell you one aspect that I think is really important. I focus in on the relationship between biology, ocean physics, and fishermen, specifically at the time and location where fish aggregate to spawn or reproduce. Different than a lot of terrestrial organisms that kind of breed one-on-one, fishes come together in massive aggregations and all send their eggs and milt into the water for fertilization. And these events take place in very specific times and very specific locations. So when tropical coral reef fish come together and aggregate to spawn, they can do so in enormous numbers. And when they do that, they get a tremendous pulse of productivity into the next generation. The problem comes, of course, when these fish are aggregated because they're easier to catch. They're all breeding, they're all hungry, they're all aggregated, and so fishermen can target these resources and fish them very unsustainably. These promontories serve as multi-species spawning aggregations, these centers of biodiversity and productivity, like a volcano of reproductive activity, and therefore become really important for protection. So my research really looks at how to use these resources more sustainably. There's two extremes of how you might use these resources. At one extreme, you could recognize, hey, this is a lot of fish all here, and right now, and you could come in with a ginormous net and take them all and make a whole lot of money in a short period of time. At the other extreme, we really want to manage these resources in a much more sustainable way, whereby, sure, we use the resource, but we use it sustainably. These are some of the most amazing phenomena to see underwater. In part, as a result of the research that I've done, working along with the fishermen, they've decided that they can make more money bringing tourists to see that place. So in contrast to fishing all the fish at once, those fishermen are now trained up as tour guides, taking people out there and making more money for the long term and leaving that magnificent resource in the water for others to enjoy in the future. So we can manage the oceans using that triple bottom line approach, where we maintain biodiversity, maintain productivity, but still provide a sustainable source of food and protein for people and economies for the long term.
We've had a number of faculty in the A&M system, including AgriLife Research, that are experts in algae. We never have brought them all together in a program that is a systems approach to algae production for commercial purposes. And so this was a great opportunity that sort of came together at the right time. The question is, how do we make it a commercially viable enterprise, and how do we demonstrate that? How do you scale it up, and how do you go from a laboratory like this out to thousands of acres?
For us, it's just really adapting specific strains, or taking this algae that we buy or this algae that we find or something like that, and getting it adapted to this area, you know, and making it work and do what we want it to do for here. It's just like growing growing corn in Illinois versus corn in North Texas. With the centrifuge behind me, we can do a lot of our dewatering straight out of the pond and concentrate our algae, get it to around 10% dry biomass. There's still a lot of water left over, so we do have some other steps that we can take to further remove the water to get a better oil extraction.
It also has the potential of producing some very good co-products like feed for shrimp farming and fish farming and also animal feed. And so not only do we produce the byproducts, we produce the oil. And the oil could be converted into jet fuel or diesel or any type of transportation fuel.
Oil in reality is the byproduct. There's a ton of value with what I'm holding in the co-products arena for cattle feed, things of that nature, because there's a huge market for that out there, and that all those things together make this a viable, affordable product for the biodiesel conversion.
There are some limitations, water availability and how you utilize water, and is there enough water to go around for millions of acres of algae production in the desert Southwest. That's another technical issue that we're researching to determine which aquifers work best. Are they sustainable? Are they? How do you manage algae so that you have a sustainable water management system? There are a number of different positive attributes. Number one, it has the potential of producing about 10 times more oil per acre than an oilseed crop that you'd produce using conventional agriculture.
The possibilities are endless. Cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, cattle feed, oil, lubricants, all sorts of things that can be used with what we have here. Without any of that co-product value, this would not work. We need to have that so we can, make sure we're producing a sustainable crop, the full circle.
Howdy, I'm Bowen Lawson, class of 1971, and president of Texas A&M University. Here at Texas A&M, we're working every day to make sustainability an Aggie tradition. We strive to respect, protect, and preserve the economic, environmental, and social resources that make Texas A&M and our community great. Perhaps our most important value is respect. We respect, protect, and preserve all with which we've been entrusted, so it benefits and improves the lives of as many people as possible today and tomorrow. Thanks, and gig 'em.